That was the first time I purchased. And during that time, it ended up being a really good market in, I want to say, 2003, 2004. And I kept hearing on the radio refinance. And at that time, I didn't know what a refinance was. So I ended up cashing out and refinancing twice in that year because I had the property for 5 years and I had never taken any equity out. So that was my start. From that first primary residence, I refinanced. I pulled a total of about, I want to say, $68,000. And I had never had that much money in my account ever before. And that was the money that I used to actually scale my real estate portfolio. And all I can say is the rest is history.
What if you could buy your first home with low credit or no savings and then own 10 properties in the next 4 years? Today's guest has proven it's possible, not once, not twice, but hundreds of times across 4 different states. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Roundtable, the show where we break down the strategies, the systems, and the stories that move today's market. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard, top producer at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, and leader of the Sir Lancelot Group, bringing you the insights that help buyers, sellers, and investors win in one of the most competitive real estate landscapes in America. And today, we're interviewing a true powerhouse. Tamairo Moutry is a multi-state real estate broker, investor, educator, and the CEO of 3 brokerages under Best Real Estate Services. She manages a remote team of 25 agents, holds licenses in Wisconsin, Georgia, Florida, and Illinois, and owns 40-plus rental units across several markets. She's real estate instructor, a former president of the Milwaukee chapter of NAREB, and a leader who has helped hundreds of buyers become homeowners, even when their situations looked impossible on paper. This is an episode for buyers, agents, investors, remote team leaders, and anyone chasing generational wealth. Let's get into it. Welcome to the pod.
Hello to you, and thank you for having me.
It's going to be awesome. Tamir, I think I'm butchering your name still. I know you told me how to say it.
It rhymes with the car Camaro, Tamairo.
Tamiro, sorry about that. Your story reads like a blueprint for multi-state success. 3 brokerages, 25 agents, and over 40 rental units. But before all of that, take us back. What was the moment that sparked when you realized real estate wasn't just a career, it was your vehicle to build something massive?
Okay, let's back up at first, though, because actually this would be my 5th real estate brokerage, and I've actually backpedaled from Illinois, and I am now recently opened my 4th one, and I had 5. So now it's Wisconsin, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama here recently.
Okay.
And so that would have been my 5th company. I did not do my continuing education for Illinois. So 4th brokerage now open, Alabama, as recently as last month. How I got started is I was actually an elementary education teacher to begin with. And I had a naughty son. So he was misbehaving in school. And at that time, I was a single mom. I did not know what I was going to do because I was getting phone calls in my classroom. And what I ended up doing is saying to myself, I just probably won't be able to continue on because family is most important. And I wanted to know what was going on with my son. With talking to my older brother, and he was in prison at the time, he's actually the person who gave me the insight and told me that I should get into real estate.
Okay. So that's how the whole real estate started from. And
Exactly.
tell me, did you just start selling real estate at first, or you were already thinking about investing? What was your process there in the beginning?
I did all of the research that I could, totally self-taught. I started educating myself about the process, and I didn't really have any money, but I was able to purchase a home back in 1999. That was the first time I purchased. And during that time, it ended up being a really good market in, I want to say, 2003, 2004. And I kept hearing on the radio refinance. And at that time, I didn't know what a refinance was. So I ended up cashing out and refinancing twice in that year because I had the property for 5 years and I had never taken any equity out. So that was my start. From that first primary residence, I refinanced. I pulled a total of about, I want to say, $68,000. And I had never had that much money in my account ever before. And that was the money that I used to actually scale my real estate portfolio. And all I can say is the rest is history.
Most agents struggle to dominate just one market or even survive in just one market. But you across 4 states now, almost, you'd say 5. Illinois is not on the paper anymore, but it used to be. So many states. Walk us through the early chapters. How did you go from local agent to multi-state broker and investor? What did the journey really look like behind the scenes?
Okay, hey, here's what ended up happening is I got into the Milwaukee market after the 2008 crash. And we'll probably end up going back to that. But I have to let you know how everything led up to this because I retired from corporate America at 32 years old with 50 doors of real estate. So before I left my teaching profession altogether, I did that. And I never looked back to corporate America. So at that time, when 2008 came, I believe I had a mortgage brokerage around that time as well. So not only did I retire from corporate America, first self-made millionaire in my family, I actually ended up with a mortgage company as well. So once the mortgage company happened, that was end of 2004, beginning of 2005. I didn't realize when I jumped in that the market crash was about to happen. I did really well, had a lot of money saved up. The market crashed and burned. I closed my mortgage company. I started continuing on with the buying and flipping, being an investor. And I said, hey, since I know so much about the other side, I may as well become a realtor. So that's when that happened in 2009. And I have a total of about 21 years of real estate experience from all of this with different myriads of and different facets of real estate. So I got the realtor license, and maybe 2.5 years after that, I decided to go ahead and come on over to the brokerage side of things. And I don't know, it was just something in me that said, why don't you just go ahead and go for another market? And it happened to be Georgia because I kept hearing a hype about Georgia. And believe it or not, I just went all feet first and decided to open the Georgia brokerage within 3 months of opening the Milwaukee brokerage. So within 3 months, I had two.
Wow, that's impressive. And
Thanks.
was it like an agent-based mentality? How were you structuring your brokerage or brokerages at that point?
And I knew that you were going to ask that question because most people do. And this is going to really be funny to you. You know, at first I had an actual office open in my hometown, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because I'm a native of Milwaukee. And I didn't really find that to help out as much as being virtual. And I'll tell you why. Because when it was time to have staff show up, it was a job that was a revolving door. And when you're trying to have somebody that is a front desk person, it doesn't always work out well if they're not paid the right way. And sometimes you can pay people the right way and it still doesn't work. So I felt like it was like an extra overhead for me. And I decided to close my office down, the brick and mortar that I had. And I decided to go completely virtual. That way I could still run my business. I could still hire agents to work remotely from home. And that's pretty much the business model that I've used since shutting down that office. And that's how I've been able to scale and still open other companies. Because when you really look at it, when you are working with clients, you're either going to their homes to list their properties for sale, and you're actually out in the field when you're showing buyers homes. So there's not really a need to have a brick and mortar office. And I figured, hey, why bother? Because it's extra overhead money. So again, I have to preface this to everybody that I speak to. Once upon a time, I was picked at, and fingers were pointed at me, laughing and ridiculing me, saying that I didn't have a real business. When there are a lot of big name companies that have this same entire business model. And I was actually ahead of the curve, especially when COVID-19 hit. I had people laughing at me saying, hey, you don't even have an office. But whenever COVID-19 went on, everybody had to go home. So again, it didn't affect me. In fact, during that time, that was one of my best years in my entire career working virtually. So again, one of the other issues is, this is what everyone seems to bring up. They're saying, Tamairo, how is it that you're able to move between these companies the way that you do, knowing that all of the rules and the laws are different between each state? And I guess I'm just smart like that. Because yes, the rules and the laws are totally different. There are some states that have closing attorneys to do the transactions, and then other states they use title companies. So you have to know what you're doing between each company. There's continuing ed that's involved. Georgia was one of the easier states to do because they have reciprocity with every state. So they just make sure that you have a certificate of good standing and that you've done continuing ed in your home state. And then it was easy to get into that market. So that was another reason why I chose Georgia to start with.
That's awesome. Georgia's a great state. I go there quite often, or we drive through it quite often. Let's say this. We go to Tennessee or North Carolina. We like to vacation up there. Okay, Gatlinburg, Nashville. We like the mountains. One of the most powerful parts of your mission is helping buyers who are too often overlooked. People with low credit limits, limited savings, or no roadmap. What drives you to help them?
It was just because of what you just said, because they're overlooked. Disadvantaged people who feel that they are going to continue to be overlooked, that nobody is going to look their way, nobody is going to take the time to work with them. What I've found with working with them is these are people who never thought that they could do it. These are people who maybe they have the most, they're really intuitive and they have the most drive and motivation to want to do this, sometimes even more so than the people who can qualify. I've learned that a lot of people who actually are in the position to buy, a lot of those people are on the fence. It's backwards. I find it out, it's backwards, that the people who are not ready to buy, those are usually the eager beavers. And the ones who have the credit score, they have the means. Sometimes those are the ones that are just sitting on the fence, waving their feet and their legs. And I don't know what they're waiting for, but I always tell people the time is now. And these people, they think that just because their scores are lower, that there's no hope for them. So I bring that out in them and let them know that where there's a will, there's a way. And one of the ways that I've helped them is, and back in the day, I have a bunch of different services that I offer. It's like a 21 plus real estate income streams that I have that are real estate related. So one of the things that I did is I would help them to fix their credit, and I would charge to do that. And there's a ton of credit repair companies out there now that charge an arm and a leg. But my strategy ended up changing and I stopped charging for it. And maybe you might say to yourself, hey, why would you stop charging people? That's when you become an expert like I have. And the reason I became an expert is because when I had bad credit, because my situation wasn't always rosy. When I had bad credit, somebody scammed me. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to use this opportunity to be the expert at this, learn everything I can about it so that I can help myself and help other people. So I ended up creating a Facebook group where the people could actually go there, utilize all of the tools in my group for them to fix their credit for free. And that is the smoking gun right there. That is the thing that they can use to help themselves, help their families. And the trade-off is them coming back to me so that they can buy a house with me.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. You got end results from helping people. A totally business mindset. And how have you built a system that gets them from not ready to pre-approved and then holding keys?
What was that question again?
How have you built a system that gets them from not ready to pre-approved and then holding keys? What
I
is the
love
system?
that question. I love that question. And it all starts from them letting me know where they are, pulling a copy of their credit scores, letting me know the issues that they have. And to be honest with you, since I have become a credit expert, I don't even need to see a credit report. I know that might sound crazy. Credit repair companies might want to take a look at the credit to see what's going on with it. All I have to do is ask some expert questions of mine, and I can tell them what to do to raise their scores. And if you want to call it manipulation, you can. But I know what to do to improve someone's credit scores to get them ready. And what that looks like is finding out what the scores are, finding out how much savings they have, finding out what we can do to improve the scores. And again, that's going to my group, going to the search feature in my group, looking at all the tools. They need to type in whatever problems they're having and actually go through those steps. And they have to take ownership of it. And part of what I do is I have a huge platform. I could consider myself a real estate influencer. And what I do is I go into a lot of my maybe 15 or 20 Facebook groups and I do live events. What I do is I actually go on and I have a day of the week for everything. I have a money making Monday, trivia, real estate trivia Tuesday, webinar Wednesday, thought provoking Thursday, where they can ask questions about real estate. Friday is Follow Me Friday. We follow each other, or Freestyle Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Speaker Sunday. So Speaker Sunday and Webinar Wednesday will be the days that I would actually go into my groups, maybe either have a guest speaker or have myself speaking about a particular subject matter related to real estate, credit help, what documents are needed. So those are the things that I do step by step. I have a group called the 6-month home buying challenge, and people can join that group and they tell me where they are. And if people have issues and problems, I tell them that our starting point is from the beginning all the way up until 6 months. And by that 6 months, they should be where they need to be to go ahead and purchase. Some of those people that join the 6-month home buying challenge, they don't need the 6 months. So I start from where they are. It's an individual thing, but I do group trainings on this. And that's how I get a magnet going. I have an assistant who actually keeps track of all of the people that are reaching out to me. She's able to utilize any of my live events to see how many people are watching my live events. And if I tell them, say, credit in the chat or whatever, my assistant goes in, creates spreadsheets, and keeps track of everybody who wants the help. So that's pretty much from start to finish. And I tell everybody to try to save at least $5,000. And lately that's been tough. But the people with the higher credit scores, they end up in a position that they only need to have $1,000 of their own money. And I'm familiar with all of the guidelines since I had a mortgage company, and I've gotten back on that side of things, working in 50 states to help them. And there's a reason why I've gotten back on that side. One reason is because some of the lenders just don't work out so well, and they keep on leaving them behind. When the files have a little bit of hair or a little bit of fuzz on them, they go at the bottom of the pile. And that's just the truth. The other side of the coin is I'm making sure that I get the scores high enough so that they can qualify for down payment assistance. I'm well aware of all those programs.
That helps a lot. Think about it. You got your mortgage done, you got your lead generation done, closing houses, you're helping people with their credit scores. You're covering all bases in the real estate sales department for sure. Owning 40 plus rental units across multiple states is impressive. But what's even more impressive is how you teach regular people to scale the same way. What's the strategy behind building a portfolio quickly and sustainably, even in today's market?
So from the very beginning, when I speak to these people, I let them know right away that I'm not looking to do a one and done type situation with them. It's not that I just educate them. I educate their whole entire family. Some of these families have older children that may not know anything about credit. I teach them how to bring their kids on and try to help them to start working on their credit ahead of time. I actually tell them that when they get with me, that I'm looking to turn them into a real estate investor right away. And I tell them right away the house hacking method, the cheat sheet to wealth, the way to get up to 10 doors of real estate in 4 years. And it's the 4-3-2-1 method. It is, if it's available, you're able to buy a 4 unit with an FHA loan. And once you buy that 4 unit with an FHA loan, you are able to scale. And people may think that the way it goes is you go upwards motion to buy a 4 unit, a 5 unit, a 6 unit, but it's the exact opposite because lenders look at this differently. The less units you have, when you get down to one, that is more superior because that is considered the upgrade. You're in a 4 unit, the next year you move up, but you're moving down at the same time. You go into a 3 unit, you're going to a 2 unit, and you're going to a 1 unit. That's 10 doors of real estate right there in 4 years.
Great. So FHA loans all across the board?
They can do FHA to start, and then after that, they can do a conventional loan. Now, there are a ton of programs out there now, and I can tell you about one. There's a 1% down program for not just first timers, but it's second time buyers, people who are already homeowners. There's also programs that are 100% financing for not just first timers anymore. They are putting these programs out here, and not a lot of people know about them. But I'm one person, since I've been in the mortgage field for this last 21 years and also helping a lot of real estate investors. You very seldom will find a well-rounded real estate professional such as myself, because I'm up on everything. All of the investor type financing, all of the different investment strategies. So again, my goal is to tell them that, hey, I'm teaching you how to build wealth. You buy your first one, first year, move out, buy your second one, move out. And people, I haven't heard anybody yet complain about moving, because I guess they feel like, hey, if this is going to help me to build wealth, then why not? Why not go ahead and do exactly what I'm telling them to do? I have one client out of Florida that I'm telling you, he has about $500,000 in equity in his properties right now. And he bought his very first duplex with me, and he just kept upgrading. So when you do it from duplex to duplex, you just have to start, and you have to upgrade every time. Better neighborhood. That is the cheat sheet and the way to house hack without you having to put down 20 or 25% when it's time for you to buy an investment property. You just keep moving in because you have to stay there for at least a year.
Got you. Yeah. FHA requirement. You've mastered the art of financing. FHA, VA, USDA, FHA 203H, even. And what you use these across multiple markets. Which programs are the most powerful right now, and how can buyers or new investors use them to shift their financial destiny?
What was your question? I'm sorry, I missed part of it.
Which programs are the most powerful right now, and how can buyers or new investors use them to shift their financial destiny?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. This is an amazing question. And here's why. Because I'm dealing with some more difficult situations right now with some of these buyers. And I'll tell you about one client that I'm working with. We will run into clients, and actually one of them is one of the new agents who joined on to my Milwaukee firm. She's in the midst of purchasing a home herself, and some of these people will have really low pre-approval amounts. So you know what happens for these clients who have low pre-approval amounts, right? They get those properties that have a lot of things wrong with them. So one thing you didn't mention was 203K. 203H, that's another program. I'm going to talk about those two powerful ones. We've had some major catastrophes to go on, hurricane issues, tornado issues. 203H is actually a disaster assistance program. People can get 100% financing with this disaster assistance program, and it is 100% financing. They lots of times with these programs, they need to have at least $1,000 into it. But once they are in this program, it's disaster assistance to help people who went through a major catastrophe. And that's what that program is for. They end up either in a new construction home or another home that meets their needs if they've been in a disaster and their home is no longer habitable to live in. So that's one powerful program. The other one is FHA 203K. That's the one you didn't mention. FHA 203K is for an individual who may find a property that's maybe dilapidated, has a bunch of repairs. We know for a fact it will not pass regular FHA financing. It's a renovation program where you're able to tack on the renovation costs. You're able to pick out the contractor as long as they're approved by HUD, and they're able to utilize that program to do what they need to do prior to moving in, and they can even include their rent in that amount if they can't move in right away. Very powerful program for a first timer. But investors, there's DSCR lending, no pay stubs, no W-2s, no tax returns, no income. And we saw those loans in the past before these companies came about when the 2008 crash happened. But they scrutinize people. And I don't think that they're having a really bad time with it, because if they were, then there would be more companies closing for that reason. They're looking for people that have the higher credit scores. But I got to be honest with you, here lately, I've seen some new programs come out where people had a credit score as low as 600 to get into these. Even the fix and flip programs, that's another powerful program. Most are down to about a 640 middle credit score, and they are able to put down 10%, of course, do a renovation loan, hard money, and you're able to do a bridge loan for the repairs. And some of these outfits can close in as soon as 5 to 10 days. It just depends on what lender is used. And again, I own a private money brokerage as well. I've had it this whole time. So that's another thing that I've been doing, is working with investors who would fix up these properties for my buyers. They know that I'm in mortgages too. So they come to me, Tamairo, do you have any pre-approved buyers? These investors are willing to make things happen for my clients. Some of my sellers that are selling properties to move on to other investments or whatever, they're willing to help with closing costs. They're willing to make the repairs so that it can pass FHA. Those investors are also in certain programs that the city may offer. And that's why it all just connects together. All of the dots connect.
Yeah, it makes a perfect circle. I mean, if I'm flipping a house, I'd love to know that I already have an end buyer when you're flipping it. Because, okay, what are we going to price it at? I know that there's a buyer that can afford this much, and I know they're going to buy it when I'm done with it. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, especially in the markets we're having nowadays with the low buyer count and higher inventory. It helps a lot for an investor to have a certainty in the market.
The other thing I want to mention to you, with that being said, to piggyback off of what you're saying, is you can choose any real estate professional to open the door for you. But if they don't know how to work with investors, and they don't understand what ARV is, they don't understand what the formula is to use to try to get a person to flip, because there's a lot of new investors that I coach, mentor, and train. And I explain to them what they should be looking for in these properties, or I pick the properties for them. And we get contractors to do their bids and their estimates and things like that. Again, I'll say it one more time because this is so important. You can have an order taker as a realtor if you want to open the door and write an offer, but it takes real grit, grind, and skill to be able to do the things that I do, to know about all the loan programs to help them, to know about how to do these things. And this is why a lot of people choose me, because I am an investor myself. I understand the numbers. I understand what's working and what's not going to work. I work with everybody from all walks of life. That's one thing about me. I rarely ever say no to people. I'm all the way up to luxury, I work a lot in luxury and new construction as well, but I'm also working with doctors and attorneys, and I'm on like my 11th transaction with an attorney out of Georgia, and he's another one who owns multiple doors in DC. He works at the Pentagon and he's in the military. So I'm doing his financing, I'm doing his hard money deals, I'm his broker. In fact, he's one of the reasons why I pulled the trigger on Alabama. But I'm doing everything. I'm hitting every point. And some people, they'll be quick to say that, hey, you're doing too much and you should find one really good thing and be good at that. And I think the total opposite. I think the more cross-trained I am, the better I am, because when things get slow in one area, I have all these other things that I can work on, all those other things that I'm skilled at that I can help people. That's the other reason why I love to travel. I love to be in multiple markets, and what I'm doing totally works for me, no matter what anyone else has to say about it. I think I've built an empire and that I'm still continuing to add things to, and I want to be able to educate others and help them along the way.
That makes total sense. I'm one of those guys too. I wear multiple hats. I'm a licensed, certified building contractor. I'm a mortgage broker associate, and I have a charity as well. So I
Love
totally
it.
coming from all the training you can get. And I'm an investor too myself. I buy properties and I hold properties and I sell properties, flip properties, all that fun stuff. So I totally know where you're coming from with that multiple hat situation, especially in, as I said earlier, today's market. You need to be multifaceted to be able to survive. Just one kind of branch doesn't really feed you the same way. You,
I I have
correct?
seen so many people, so many real estate professionals cry about these markets. And one of the reasons they're doing a lot of crying is because they haven't done what you and I are doing. You need to be able to, you're never supposed to put all your eggs in one basket. It
Yep.
takes 7 streams of income for you to be a millionaire. If I've got 21 streams, they got a lot of catching up to do. They don't need to think that it's going to always be great, because real estate is in cycles. One thing's for sure about me, I've built a situation where I'm never slow. When I'm listening to real estate professionals online complain that they're turning their licenses in and they're going back to corporate America, this is one person that will never do it all the way. Part-time stuff, maybe, to do the loan piece. If I decide not to open my own, because that's coming again, but I'm never going to be in this. And I know they say never, but I've done too much to try to go back full time to corporate America when I have all these different things that I can do to help others and still support my family.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Plus, you and I were not meant to work in corporate America because we are entrepreneurs, and we are not the right fit for corporate America. Most of the time, they don't like us because we think out of the box 99% of the time.
Man, you just said a mouthful right there. 2 companies terminated me, and there's a reason for that, because it's what you just said. I don't fit the mold and I don't fit the box. Part-time, one thing you can't really do is fire a boss, because I'm a boss first and foremost all the time. A little
Yeah,
part-time gig means nothing, because that's not where my income comes from. And people don't seem to understand that no matter what I do, I can still the majority of my properties are owned free and clear. So I don't have a mortgage on everything. I wasn't working with the bank. For 19 years after that market crash, I did not use the bank. I've used a myriad of different investment strategies to scale back up to 41 doors. After I went on hiatus for 10 years, I came back stronger than ever. I had to liquidate when the market crashed, because, again, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. So when it was time from 2018 to 2022, I scaled right back up to 41 doors like it wasn't nothing. And I didn't even use the bank to do it.
nice. Good job. You run
Thanks.
brokerages. It's a really fascinating story how you did that. You run
Thanks.
you run multiple brokerages and a remote team of 25 agents, and you manage it all across all these states, 4 states. How do you build culture, accountability, and high performance in a remote world?
What I do, again, is the same way that I work with my clients. It's pretty much providing them with what they need. A lot of times I give my agents a free reign to give me an hour of time of theirs for me to be able to train them, because I take them where they are. If it's something that they all need to learn together, I can coach them and train them in a group setting. But but a lot of them come to me and they're in different places. So I have to take them where they are, and I just do to hour time blocks. If they need me for something specific right away, I'm available by text message. I'm not one of those brokers that decides that I'm turning the phone off at 5 and I don't work weekends. Yeah, people might complain. You don't ever get a break. And yeah, I complain too sometimes. But guess what? I signed up for this. This is what I signed up for. There's going to be some times where I'm going to want a time, or I'll let them know that, hey, I won't be able to get to it until tomorrow. I just work my life around it, and I work it around theirs as well. Because a lot of these people coming on to this profession, they have a second job themselves, and they're not ready to branch off to be full-time like you and I are. You wear multiple hats. They're not in the same space that we are, where they can just quit their jobs like that, because they're still learning. As far as culture, when I go to these different places, I'm able to take them out or have dinner and things like that. I'm able to talk to them on social media, email, text, phone call, and they all work from home and they love it.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
At this stage of your career, you're not just building a business, you're building a legacy. Why is financial literacy and generational wealth such a core part of what you teach?
Because a lot of people were never taught. These people, they did not have that framework. To be honest with you, I didn't even have it. So just on the strength that I didn't have it, I know that there's other people that did not have what I had. So with that being said, it's the teacher coming out in me. I came from the teaching profession, so I brought it over to real estate. Thus, the reason why I ended up obtaining my instructor license for Wisconsin. So I'm able to actually help people to get on board to become a real estate agent, a realtor if they want to. I'm I'm totally self-taught in the strength that I ended up going to college to be a teacher, but when I left the teacher profession, I got this real estate instructor's license. Now I put myself in a position to create the courses for these people so that they can learn different facets of real estate. I want people to understand that if they don't want to go to college, they don't have to go to college to have a bunch of debt so that they can build wealth in real estate. A lot of people were not taught about their credit scores. My mom always maintained a great credit score, but she never told me anything about it. The only thing she ever said is pay your bills on time, never be late. But that's really not enough. You know what I mean? So I just took it upon myself to say, hey, if I can empower other people, think about this. What other job or career would you like to ever have where you're actually making a living and making money and you're also helping people? It's a reward. It can definitely be a pain in the behind, but it is so rewarding when people think that this is something that they could never do and they end up doing it. I'll never forget one time I was kicked out of a Facebook group too, by the way. I'll never forget a time it was a lady who said, oh my God, things just keep happening with me and my credit and these medical bills. And she said, I'm just fed up and I'll never be able to buy a home. And when she said that, that just hurt me to my core. So I started providing value to the people in the group and I started telling them different things. And all of a sudden, I guess they admitted I was doing too much and was giving out too much information, and I got kicked out of the group. And that's one of the reasons why I started create my own groups, because I get kicked out of a lot of groups for helping people. And they started looking for me. All of the people that saw all the helpful information that I was providing, they reached out to me. They're not getting it. They don't teach this stuff in school. They didn't have those opportunities. Parents didn't know. They didn't know. They don't know where to look. They don't know who to ask. So that is the reason why I'm doing this. I want to make an impact. And that's the reason.
Got you. And what do you want the next generation of buyers and agents to understand?
Very good question. Um, I want, number one, for agents to understand that if you want to be competitive in this market today, you better be doing more than one or two things. You're not going to be as valuable anymore. We had the big lawsuit that took place, and there's a lot of people that are still trying to adjust to that. They need to make sure that they're providing value to their clients. They can't run around thinking that they're going to be order takers and door openers and just writing an offer. You better be explaining to these people up front how the new system works. You better be making sure that you're understanding what your marketing efforts look like. Another thing I would tell agents is to make sure that they're not just thinking that social media is it. They need to be making connections in the communities, making sure that they are going to vendor events and things like that to rub elbows with people, even if it has nothing to do with real estate. Think about this. If you go to any type of vendor event or any type of conference and it has nothing to do with real estate and they're asking you to be a vendor there, maybe you're the only real estate professional there. And maybe somebody might walk up to you and say, hey, I'm interested in real estate, or maybe I have a home for you to sell. Those are the ways that you end up rising up above everyone else because you're thinking outside of the box. And I have a lot of different strategies and ways that I teach my agents to step outside of the box, and I actually train my agents too well, and they end up leaving and then they end up opening their own companies. And so on the buyer part of it is I just don't want people to give up. The other agent part of it is making sure that these agents are not afraid of the ones who can't. I never tell anybody no. I tell people not right now. Keep those leads. I don't care how bad they are. I've had people come in my Facebook group, my credit Facebook group, with 400 something credit scores, and they did what was asked of them in the group, and they ended up bringing their scores up to a 750 from them utilizing the tools in my group. I would tell people to be they need to just do everything, cross-trained in every single thing in real estate, not to just be a one-hit wonder and thinking that they're going to make a commission for just writing up an offer. And if they want to work with investors, I know it takes time. They need to be patient. Buyers need to be patient. They need to trust the process. These buyers, they need to understand that it is a process, and they need to be patient too, as well as we continue to evolve and go through all the different changes with our profession. They need to know that if the seller won't pay the compensation for the buyer broker when doing the deal, that they may be responsible for some of the compensation. That's making things a little bit more difficult, but we always end up with another way around it. And there's all types of things that we can do for these people who don't necessarily have the down payment. Don't run from those buyers. You don't know these buyers. These buyers might know somebody who wants to buy or sell a $2 million property. People are so quick to throw those clients away when those are ones that can bring you a lot more business. I get just as many referrals from past clients or people from off of Facebook that see how much value that I provide on social media. But you need to have something going on all fronts. I'm talking about offline, online, volunteering in your community, whether it's Habitat for Humanity, whether it's you doing a block party, whether it's a home buying seminar, a lunch and learn, going to McDonald's and having a coffee corner, buying people coffee to talk about real estate, whatever it is that you want to do to empower your community and have events to employ others. That's another thing. If they're interested in becoming a realtor, you can get your license, instructor license, and teach real estate as well.
Wow. And that wraps up another episode of the Real Estate Roundtable. Huge thank you to Tamairo Moutry, a trailblazer in multi-state brokerage, a powerhouse investor, and a champion for first-time homebuyers across the country. If you got value from today's episode, and I know you did, make sure to like, drop a comment, subscribe, share this with someone who dreams of owning their first home or building a rental portfolio. Connect with Tamairo across all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and her website, all linked in the show notes. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard with the Sir Lancelot Group. and helping you navigate the Central East Florida market with clarity, strategy, and confidence. Until next time, keep building, keep investing, and keep moving towards your version of generational wealth. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.